Let's talk about some of the things going on in Washington this week and the letters that were written in. Number one, Title 42 was the most hot button topic that came into the office this week. As a result of COVID, it was updated to basically say, for the purpose of health in our country can expel people, deport people, things like that based upon the provisions of health. A number of years ago, basically a Soros-led group figured out that they could exploit the asylum system by essentially having children traffic adults into the United States of America. A CBP, Customs Border Patrol statistic, I think it was 2019 was the year for that statistic, actually said that something like 69-70% of the people that were coming in across our southern border that were claiming asylum as a family unit were not actually family units. They were made up family units where they were having some mule that was giving them a kid to come across the border with. So that's also obviously trafficking for these children, and that's what was happening as a result. Title 42 policy, the Biden administration is planning to rescind this policy. What does that result in for the United States of America? Hundreds of thousands of people that are sitting outside of our southern border right now, getting ready to claim asylum again as a family unit with extremely high rates of it being fraudulent, are going to come across our border. And under this administration, the fact of the matter is they don't have an interest in stopping people from coming across our southern border. That's why day one policy, they canceled the southern border wall, tried to cancel the Remain in Mexico policy, other things. The Biden administration will probably get away with ending that policy despite the negative effects that it has on our entire country. You having to pay for everything from people coming in here illegally. The city of Fort Pierce and in and around the Fort Pierce area, glioblastoma can happen, a brain tumor can happen to a lot of people and in a lot of places around the country. What was happening in Fort Pierce was very questionable about how many people in one given area, sometimes on the same street, sometimes even in the same houses that people lived over different times. Something like 50 cases across the period of 9 years in a small area of St. Lucie County, people getting these brain tumors. And I've known a number of the families, met a whole lot of them. Unfortunately, seen a number of the individuals that were suffering from these glioblastomas come and go. And so something that we've been working on, and it's bicameral, meaning in the House of Representatives and the Senate, and bipartisan, is having a glioblastoma awareness day. And we're setting that forward for, I want to say July 20 would be the day that our legislation would put that. We had a hearing with Wendy Sherman. She's the Deputy Secretary of State. Her, along with John Kerry, you could really say were the architects, the chief negotiators of the first Iran deal. And I want to bring in a quote because I thought it was a really important quote about what Wendy Sherman was saying about how they negotiated the Iran deal the first time. We had to make sure that our military was arrayed in such a way to say that we are serious. That if we have to take military action that is against Iran because nothing else works to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon, then they know that we will. They know that we have weapons that can penetrate their underground facilities like Fordo. And I don't think anybody can say, honestly, that given the actions of the Biden administration, what happened in Afghanistan, what's going on in Ukraine, that Iran believes whatsoever that the Biden administration would use any kind of military action to prevent them from having a nuclear weapon. So what Wendy Sherman, who is an architect, a chief negotiator on that, cited as some of the most important things that they needed to negotiate their deal, they don't have those things today. And it should really make everybody ask the question, and just on some of those bases alone, not to mention that it's just a bad deal in general when you consider everything that Iran has done to America and others. It's a bad deal in general, and something to pay attention to on that front. We've done a hell of a lot of work on animal testing, the PAWS Act, the Puppers Act, the Kittens Act, right? We named them after animals that were being affected by agencies like the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Food and Drug Administration and other agencies that were conducting painful animal testing, which our government should not be paying for at all. And we've been able to very successfully bring a number of those things to a halt. This Postal Vehicle Modernization Act, it would require the U.S. Postal Service to ensure that 75% of its delivery vehicles are electric. Probably at first glance, not something that I'm going to support. What the Postal Service should do is what is best for the taxpayer, what is best for them to be a solvent agency, right? So if all of their vehicles are electric and that's more affordable than doing it in another way with a hybrid or with an internal combustion engine or whatever, then great, if that can be better for the taxpayer and better for the Postal Service. But to just demand that 75% of postal vehicles are electric vehicles, it's not something that I'm going to be on board with as I look at a first glance of that piece of legislation. How many of those flights or bus loads or whatever of individuals has our Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency brought into Florida? We're talking about those flights that were brought in the dark of night, and then the administration said, no, we're not bringing them in the dark of night. It's just the early morning. It was something like 2 or 3 in the morning or something like that they did this. And the fact of the matter is, we don't know. I speak to the governor. The governor, I don't think has an exact statistic on exactly how many have been shipped around the country, but I will say something very positive about what the governor has done, which is he has actually put forth a line item in his budget that if illegal immigrants are shipped into Florida, flown into Florida, bussed into Florida, that he has a line item in his budget to put them on a bus and deliver them very directly to Delaware, the home state of President Biden. So that much I can tell you on that. Governor DeSantis takes this very seriously, the security of our state very seriously. I know he's working on this on a number of different fronts. To make sure that as much as every state you could call a border state today, because those that cross our border illegally are traversed across the country, he's trying to make sure that Floridians are not affected as much as possible by illegal immigration. We all have an ability and a right to make decisions for ourselves. The Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation Security Administration, in my opinion, should not be regulating how it is that we go out there and protect ourselves. There's a lawsuit that myself, Representative Thomas Massey, and a number of others have put forward to demand that those agencies lift the mask mandate so that if you want to fly without a mask, you can fly without a mask. If you want to fly with a mask, you always have that right to fly with a mask, or go to the grocery store or drive in your car with it or do any other thing that you want with it. But those that don't want to wear a mask shouldn't have to wear a mask. There are things that the federal government can and should be doing about inflation that would make a difference in the lives of people, big or small, that they're not doing right now. And I put together, I almost called it like a kitchen sink style bill of a host of things that I think we could be doing, but surprisingly we're not. Some of those things are just very simply get rid of or suspend the 18.4 cents per gallon gas tax and the 24 cents per gallon diesel tax. That's one of the things that you could do to make a difference in the lives of people. One of the things that you can do, we need more truckers out there. Allow people that want to go and get their CDL license, their truck driving license, to utilize Pell Grants like other students can use to go and become CDL truck drivers so that they can help with what's going on with this job that not as many people are going into. There aren't nearly enough truckers in our country right now, and they don't have to take out loans to do it, just like people in education. Like I said, get that Pell Grant opportunity. Make sure that we work in the ports to allow, let's say, agencies like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that have equipment operators that can operate cranes or forklifts or high-lows, or even they have truck drivers in the military. In the military, they call it a 916. That's like their version of a tractor trailer, that have those licenses to drive those. Find a way to let those people help augment the labor shortage and get those goods out of the ports of call and get them out to people where they belong. Or take the excise tax off of big rigs, the 12% tax that goes on big rig chassis so that they can be sold more cheaply. More people can open up small businesses of truck driving and move goods out and across the country. Again, I appreciate you all paying attention. Whether we agree on everything or whether we don't, I appreciate you taking the time to get on here and see what's going on in Congress or questions that people are coming to us with from our community that we all love. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to talking to you all again next time. Take care.